We'll call her April. April is bright, capable, and full of questions, but April also really struggles with reading. She's been formally diagnosed with dyslexia, so reading really drains her and causes her real problems in the classroom. She's also in a low socioeconomic school, and when I asked her about the support she's received, she said, not much, a few reading tasks were shortened. That didn't help. We also spoke about different strategies she's been taught and tools to use to improve her ability to read and understand text. I just know when I work with students in the classroom. And it really hit hard. It's not because as teachers we didn't care, because at the core of it, there wasn't enough funding. She didn't have an EA. She didn't have support in the classroom to give her the best opportunities to success. She was just falling behind. She couldn't achieve what she was capable of because of this particular situation. Despite everything she could do herself, when it came to reading, literacy, and understanding text, it was a problem for her. So part of the conversation I asked what would help. She found that if every second word was highlighted, it actually helps her to follow a sentence and understand what was being said. Her brain didn't get as jumbled, a totally different experience. But this is what it worked for this particular student. A clear and simple insight from a student who understood her own brain. So we're sitting there in class. I thought, how can I solve this? I'd given her a task and she was manually highlighting every second word. And I said, that's a lot of work. And obviously it takes up time in class. How can I change the process? So in ChatGPT, I pulled up the worksheet that she was working on because I had a digital copy. I printed it and handed it out to her for the activity in the class. And I said, put a prompt in, please highlight every second word in the text, keep the formatting plain. 10 seconds later, I had a version of the same worksheet, but it's now been modified for April. Not dumbed down, not simplified, just accessible for her. First version, I actually highlighted in yellow, and she told me she didn't want that. She wanted it in blue, so I went back, hopped on ChatGPT and asked it to do translucent dark blue highlighting is what worked best for her. Printed it out, delivered it to her. And it changed how she approached the lesson. What we have here is a conversation with hurdles of her being successful in the classroom. Something that we could solve, something that she was trying to solve herself by highlighting each of the words. But at the same time, that was very time-consuming and very inefficient, particularly if we got a lot of text. We should spend a large proportion of the lesson highlighting the words, instead of actually getting into the work, taking away their valuable class time with her. So I'd like to say welcome back to Teachers AI Cafe. Today we'll be tackling something close to every teacher's heart and something that often contributes to our burnout, our care for our students and ability to differentiate in a class of, say, 30 students. That relentless task of meeting every student where they're at, no matter how wide the ability is spread in our classroom. So this is what we're going to talk about today. And the story of April is a classic example of how a tool like AI can help us adapt and change what we do to suit our student needs. So you might talk about differentiation. I mentioned in episode 2, you might have used a tool like Diffit. It's great for simplifying text, adjusting reading levels, and general questions. But what you might not realize is you can do the same thing or more in ChatGPT or other AI engines, mainly because Diffit is built on OpenAI, which is the basis of ChatGPT. And as I highlighted with wrapper programs like that, it's simply, they're great for a while and they're free for a while, but often over time, the different features, you've got to pay. And that makes sense. They're running a business and they're providing this service for you and they've got to fund their costs. But at the same time, with the free version of ChatGPT, and even more so with the paid version, you can do the same thing. Take, for example, take a message and ask, rewrite this for a Year 5 reading level, or summarize this into dot points, or create a version for this text for a student with dyslexia using short lines and accessible font cues. And it'll draw on that knowledge that it has to actually make those change. And we have two things happening there. We're drawing on the teacher's knowledge, or we're asking the AI, if we put the prompt in, that what works with dyslexia based on research, AI can grab that research and help you make modifications to the written resources they're actually producing for your students. And the beauty is you don't need coding skills. You don't need a separate app. You just need a nice, clear prompt. The amazing thing about AI, it just doesn't support learners who are struggling. It also helps students extend who are ahead of the curve. You could ask it to rewrite a passage using Year 12 vocabulary when they're in Year 10, improve their literacy by giving them more complex vocabulary. If you've got a task you're working on, add 2 abstract questions for critical thinking. Create a debate topic based on this article. Suddenly, you're not just handing out the same worksheet for everyone. You're curating access and challenge for each learner, all within minutes. Now you can actually adjust your resources, a single resource, for different students in the class very quickly. Once you've had the first conversation with ChatGPT, it remembers what you've done before. So when you've created one resource, you've made your modifications, and so you've got your 2 or 3 different outputs. When you upload a new document, you can say, do the same modifications for this task. It'll remember what you did previously in the conversation, and then it'll put that for you, all within minutes. So all of a sudden, differentiation is getting done for you consistently and accurately. But I'll also say you always got to double check the output just in case something goes wrong. But the example I'm a student of April, I could now upload bulk because I've got the paid version. I can upload 10 resources at once. I can get all those changes be done consistently and very quickly and then provide them for her. So as a result, her ability to progress, be successful in the classroom, completely changed when working with written work. What does this really mean for teachers? Well, let's be honest, this kind of tailoring has always been done. And it's been the dream of everyone, how we can consistently and quickly make these changes. But who has the time? And that's the challenge that we have. We get a certain amount of a certain amount of prep time, and then we're doing that work outside class. And that's where we're relying on teachers to do a lot of the work, all the preparation they need to do. With 5 different classes, 30 students, 150, that's a lot of variation possible within their classroom. As a result, this is at the core of things like burnout of our teachers, overwork, meaning they're not giving their best in the classroom because they're spending so much time making these modification and adjustments without support within the system itself. Why some teachers might have the opportunity to use education assistants. This is your education assistant. This is something in a very simple form you can do on the fly. Or we can simply continue what we're doing, overwork ourselves, and hope our students continue to push through. But as I said, AI changes that. You don't have to create 3 versions of every text manually. You can prompt, tweak, and go. During your prep, even within the lesson itself, you can make modifications. In the example first we did, I did it within the lesson itself. And when you work with students, like I did with April, you co-create solutions that work. I was sitting there with April, getting feedback with her, sitting next to me as I did those modifications. I weren't sitting at home by myself, making those changes, implement them in the classroom, getting feedback, and then having to make more changes. I saved so much time, and my students benefited. So differentiation should never come at the cost of the teacher well-being. Yes, it often does, because we care, and because we try to do it all ourselves. But what if AI can carry just enough of this load to help us to breathe again? And that's what I'm all about with this conversation. Getting our work-life balance back between the amount of work we do to the outcome we have in the classroom. April reminded me of something simple, but obviously very powerful. With the right tool and a willingness to listen, we can transform our students to engage with learning. In this case, it was literacy. But we know that approach happens in all aspects of our classroom. What we can do without sacrificing our evenings, weekends, and sanity by using an AI tool to get it done for us. So if you're looking at ways of adapting your materials, massively increasing your workflow across all your different classes, AI is here to help. Start with a single prompt, start with one student, learn how to do it, learn how to modify it, and see what's possible. And over time, you'll meet every learner exactly where they are. It is a process, it won't happen overnight. But like I said, we've got to start somewhere. You've got to start with that first student, see what you can do, get that feedback, show the student what you're doing. Show them how you're using AI, how it is a tool everyone should be using to be more productive in the workplaces. So thanks again for joining me at Teachers AI Cafe today. Remember, subscribe, leave a comment. That obviously help other teachers find my podcast. And until then, enjoy your cuppa, your walk or your drive, and I'll chat to you soon.